Welcome, chosen ones. The ones they tried to bury were seeds all along. Chosen ones, let's get real. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, and that terrifies the people who wanted to see you fail. They've caught a glimpse of who you are, and now they know you're unstoppable. You've walked through fire, and instead of being consumed, you emerged as gold. They didn't just see your potential, they saw your power. That's why the attacks felt so personal, so relentless. They weren't fighting you, they were fighting the vision of what you're destined to become. But here's the truth. They can't stop what's already in motion. You've been chosen for a reason. You're not here to play small, to dim your light, or to apologize for your brilliance. Your resilience, your growth, and your unshakable spirit are proof that you were built for more. This is your moment to rise, to embrace your purpose, and to silence the doubts, yours and theirs. Watch this video and let's talk about how to turn every setback into a stepping stone. The time to step into your greatness is now. Now let's get started. We are starting with number 12, the fire they tried to extinguish but only fueled. Every obstacle they threw at you, every roadblock they placed, and every scheme they plotted was meant to snuff out your light. But instead of breaking you, it refined you. Every blow you took only stoked the flames within you, making you stronger, sharper, and more determined. They didn't realize it then, but their efforts to tear you down were the very fuel that ignited your transformation. You've endured sabotage disguised as friendship, setbacks orchestrated in the shadows, and criticism meant to crush your confidence. They thought their words and actions would shatter you, but each attempt only reinforced your resolve. You didn't just survive their attacks, you thrived in the aftermath. You turned their hate into motivation, their betrayal into lessons, and their doubt into proof of your resilience. What they failed to understand is that you're not just resilient, you're alchemical. You turn negativity into strength, adversity into wisdom, and pain into purpose. They gave you the fire, thinking it would consume you, but you controlled it, mastered it, and let it shape you into something unbreakable. Now, you're unstoppable. Not because you don't feel the weight of what they've done, but because you've learned how to rise above it. Their attempts to extinguish you only revealed the depth of your power. They thought they were fighting against you, but all they've done is prove that you're a force they cannot contain. The very energy they used to harm you is now the energy propelling you forward. You've become a living contradiction to their plans, a phoenix rising not once, but every time they've tried to bring you down. Their efforts didn't silence your fire, they made it undeniable. And now, it's too late for them to stop what they've helped create. Number 11. The answer to prayers. They didn't know they were asking. Sometimes people fight hardest against the very thing they need the most. They may have tried to suppress you, mock you, or undermine your potential, but deep down they know the truth. You are everything they wish they could be. Your confidence highlights their insecurity. Your strength exposes their fragility. Your ability to rise despite everything they've thrown at you reveals the gaps in their own character. You are the embodiment of qualities they crave but can't cultivate, and that scares them. What they fail to realize is that your presence in their life is no accident. You are, in fact, the answer to prayers they didn't know how to articulate. In trying to hold you back, they were actually grappling with their own limitations, wishing they had your resilience, your vision, your light. But instead of drawing inspiration from you, they chose to fight you. Your strength makes them uncomfortable because it holds up a mirror to what they lack. Your grace under pressure reminds them of their tendency to crumble. Your courage to stand alone highlights their fear of rejection. But here's the irony. Everything they tried to suppress in you was never meant to be hidden. You were sent to show them what's possible. They may not admit it, but your presence has already started shifting their perspective. You are proof that limits are self-imposed and that true power comes from authenticity. By being yourself, you've become a walking contradiction to their fears, a living example of what they secretly wish for. Whether they hate you for it or admire you from a distance, the truth remains the same. You're not just an answer, they're the ones who didn't know how to receive it. And that's their loss. Number 10. Proof that the system can be broken. They thought the system would break you, They thought the rules were unchangeable, the hierarchy untouchable, and the limits they set in stone were impenetrable. But they didn't account for someone like you. They didn't expect you to challenge the unspoken norms, question the boundaries, and walk paths they swore were closed. You didn't just find a way through, you created one. The walls they built to box you in became opportunities for you to innovate. Every system, no matter how powerful, has cracks, and you found them. You didn't just play their game, you rewrote the rules entirely. While others accepted the constraints, you saw potential. While they told you this is how it's always been, you said, it doesn't have to stay that way. And with every move, every breakthrough, you proved that the system isn't unbreakable. It's only as strong as the belief in its permanence. Your success isn't just yours, it's a revolution. It's a message to anyone watching that the impossible is just a matter of perspective. You've shown that the so-called limits are nothing more than fear disguised as structure. And that terrifies the people who depend on those walls to keep themselves secure. They thrive in a system they thought no one could beat. But now, seeing you thrive, they can no longer pretend the rules are absolute. You've made them uncomfortable because you've turned their certainties into questions. By walking through the doors you created, you didn't just succeed, you exposed the system for what it really is. Breakable, changeable, and ultimately powerless against someone who refuses to be contained. You're not just proof the system can be broken, you're proof that it should be. Number 9. A mystery they can't decipher. There's something about you they can't quite put their finger on, and it's driving them insane. They see your strength, your resilience, and your ability to rise, but no matter how hard they analyze, they can't figure out how. It's not your circumstances. Those should have held you back. It's not luck. There's too much intentionality in your moves. And it's not the people around you, because even when you stood alone, you thrived. What baffles them most is that you don't flaunt your power. It's quiet, steady, and undeniable, like the calm before a storm. You don't explain yourself, and you don't need to. That silence is what unnerves them because they can't understand what fuels you. They've tried to find cracks, moments of weakness, or anything to prove that you're just like them. But the more they dig, the more they realize your power comes from somewhere beyond their comprehension. It's not about the tangible. Your strength doesn't come from what they can see. It comes from what they can't. Maybe it's your belief in something greater or the way you've turned pain into purpose. Maybe it's the unshakable confidence that no one gave you, that you had to build from the ground up. Whatever it is, they can't replicate it, and that terrifies them. They obsess over your secret, not realizing there isn't one. Your power is the result of showing up every day when it was easier not to. It's built on choices they didn't see, sacrifices they couldn't imagine, and faith they don't possess. To them, you're an unsolvable mystery, but to you, it's just who you are, someone who doesn't need to explain their strength to prove it. Number 8. The storm they can't predict. Your presence has a way of doing something powerful and almost unsettling to those around you. It forces them to face themselves. You don't need to say a word. Don't need the storm they can't predict. They thought they had you pegged, as if your journey was something they could map out and control. But every time they believe they've figured you out, you shift, evolve, and shatter their expectations. You're not predictable, and that terrifies them. You don't follow the patterns they've set for others or abide by the limits they assumed you'd obey. Just when they settle into thinking they know your next move, you make a leap they couldn't see coming. Your adaptability isn't just a skill, it's a way of being. When life throws chaos, you don't just survive it, you bend it to your will. You thrive in uncertainty, taking risks they would never dare, because you understand something they don't. The ability to adapt is the greatest strength of all. You've become a storm they can't track, let alone contain. Your unpredictability is your power, and it keeps them on edge, always wondering what you'll do next. A silent assassin of their ego. You don't have to shout or scheme to make your presence known. Your very existence is enough to dismantle their carefully built illusions of superiority. They see you rise effortlessly, it seems, and it shakes the foundation of their ego. It's not just what you achieve, It's the quiet confidence with which you do it. You don't seek validation, and that's what haunts them most. Every step you take forward reminds them of their stagnation. Every moment of your success feels like a mirror reflecting their unspoken fears and insecurities. Without a word, you've become a constant reminder that their power is fragile, their control an illusion. They wanted to overshadow you, but now they're left chasing a shadow they can never catch. Your rise is unstoppable, and their ego is the first casualty due to point out their flaws or weaknesses. Simply by being who you are, authentic, unapologetic, and fully yourself, you act as a mirror to everyone else. They can't help but see the parts of themselves they've been avoiding, the things they've been hiding from, and the insecurities they've tried to suppress. Number 7. The catalyst for their own undoing. In their obsession with bringing you down, they failed to see they were laying the groundwork for their own collapse. Every move they made against you, every scheme, every lie, every calculated attempt to undermine you didn't just fail, it exposed the cracks in their foundation. Their efforts to destroy you revealed their desperation, their insecurities, and ultimately their weaknesses. They believed that targeting you would elevate their power, but in reality, it showed everyone how fragile they truly are. Their focus on you wasn't strength, it was fear. Fear of your resilience, your ability to rise, and your refusal to stay in the box they tried to trap you in. While they wasted their energy plotting your downfall, you used every challenge to build yourself up. Your resilience wasn't just a shield, it became a mirror, reflecting back everything they tried to hide. Their attempts to sabotage you didn't just fail, they backfired. Their lies unraveled, their alliances crumbled, and their intentions became clear for all to see. The more they pushed against you, the more they exposed the limits of their power and the depth of their insecurity. In trying to break you, they sabotaged their own plans. While they were busy watching and plotting, you were evolving, growing, and moving forward. Now they're left scrambling, weakened by their own missteps, while you stand stronger than ever. Your resilience didn't just protect you, it dismantled them. It showed that their power was never real, their control was never absolute, and their attempts to destroy you were nothing more than the seeds of their own undoing. In trying to dim your light, they burned out their own. Number 6. An unwritten chapter they can't erase. They thought they had control over your story, that they could write the chapters for you, set the tone, and dictate your path. They assumed that with their power, their influence, or their manipulation, they could steer the course of your life, make you small, and force you into the narrative they created. But they couldn't have been more wrong. What they failed to understand is that you were never a character in their story to begin with. You've always been the author of your own. The more they tried to control the plot, the more they revealed how little they knew about you. Every attempt to box you in only made it clearer that you were destined for a narrative they couldn't even imagine. Your journey was never theirs to define, and no matter how hard they tried to erase your influence, they could never erase the truth of who you are and what you've become. Now, as they look at the life you're building, they realize their grip on you was always an illusion. They've only written one page of a book they'll never finish. Your story is untouchable, unerasable, and eternal. It's been etched in a way that no one can rewrite, no matter how hard they try to spin their version of events. You've outgrown the narrative they sought to impose, and what you're creating for yourself is bigger, more meaningful, and more powerful than anything they could have ever controlled. They underestimated your ability to rise above their limitations, and in doing so, they've shown that the story they tried to craft for you was always bound to be irrelevant. Your chapter is already written in a way that cannot be undone, and your legacy is yours to define. Number 5. A force that answers to no one but the universe. You've always known you were destined for something bigger than the limitations they tried to impose on you. While they operated within their narrow boundaries of rules, expectations, and control, you've been guided by something far more powerful and unshakable, a connection to a higher purpose. You aren't here to meet their standards or follow their plans. You've answered to a calling that has nothing to do with their petty constraints. Their rules were always built to confine, to control, and to keep the game in their hands. But you've never played by their script. You see through their fears and expectations, understanding that those aren't universal truths. They're just constructs meant to hold you back. What they fail to realize is that you're not bound by their limitations because you don't need their approval to thrive. Your drive comes from a source they can't control, a deeper sense of purpose that doesn't answer to anyone but the universe itself. Every step you take, every breakthrough you have, is a testament to the fact that you move to a rhythm that is yours alone. You don't need their validation because you've aligned yourself with something far more powerful than anything they can offer. You've tapped into the flow of destiny itself, and it's carrying you forward away from their grasp. They can't understand it, and they never will. Because no matter how hard they try to control or manipulate you, you are an unstoppable force that answers to no one but the universe. You're following a path they can't even fathom, and no amount of their influence will ever change that. Number 4, the evidence that grace and grit can coexist. They thought strength was all about force, about loud displays and brute power. They believed the more aggressive, the more dominant you appeared, the stronger you were. But what you've shown them is that true strength doesn't have to be loud, it can be graceful. Your ability to move through adversity with dignity, to endure without breaking, and to rise even in the face of the hardest challenges has shattered the very idea that strength is about toughness alone. You've proven that grace doesn't mean weakness. It's a strength in itself. You've faced trials with a calm that confounds those who would crumble under the same pressure. Your elegance in the midst of chaos is not a mask. It's a reflection of your inner resilience. You've shown them that greatness isn't about avoiding struggle, but about how you carry yourself through it. Your pursuit of excellence, while grounded in relentless effort, is not tainted by bitterness or anger. Instead, it's fueled by purpose, poise, and an unwavering belief in your potential. This balance, this fusion of grace and grit, is what truly sets you apart. It's what makes you unstoppable. You're not just surviving your journey. You're owning it with every ounce of your being. You don't need to boast or break things to prove your strength. The evidence is in your actions, in your ability to maintain grace when others falter and to rise time and time again without losing the essence of who you are. You've redefined what it means to be strong. You are the epitome of depth, showing the world that true power isn't just in surviving the storm, but in how you dance through it, never losing sight of your authenticity. Number 3, a blueprint. They could never replicate. There's something about you they can't figure out, and it's driving them mad. It's not just what you do, it's how you do it. Your way of moving through life, of turning chaos into clarity, is something they've never been able to mimic. They've watched you closely, dissected your every move, and tried to recreate what you have. But no matter how hard they try, they fail, because what you carry isn't learned or borrowed. It's ingrained. It's your essence, your signature, your uncopyable blueprint. You've shown that success isn't about playing by someone else's rules. It's about creating your own. You've proven that resilience doesn't mean never falling. It means getting back up every single time with more wisdom and strength. Brilliance isn't just intelligence or talent. It's the way you make the impossible look effortless. They've seen this in you, and it shakes them to their core. What makes it even more powerful is that you don't try to stand out. You simply can't help but do so. The way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you handle challenges, it's all uniquely you, and that terrifies them. Not because you're trying to compete, but because you're living proof that their imitation will never match your originality. They wanted you to doubt yourself, to think you were ordinary. But deep down, they've always known the truth. You're the one thing they'll never be. Your essence is more than unique. It's irreplaceable. No blueprint can be copied when it was written by the hand of destiny itself. And that's the power they can't replicate, no matter how hard they try. You don't just walk your path, you create one where none existed before. Number 2. A living proof that destiny can't be derailed. Your journey has been anything but easy, yet every challenge, every roadblock, and every setback has served a higher purpose. What they intended as obstacles to stop you have instead become the very tools you've used to rise. Every time they plotted against you, they unknowingly contributed to your success. Their attempts to derail you only reinforced one undeniable truth: destiny cannot be manipulated, paused, or destroyed. They thought they were in control, that their power, influence, or sabotage could dictate your path. But what they've come to realize is that they were never in charge. They were merely players in a story far bigger than themselves, a narrative orchestrated by something greater. Every misstep they caused, every plan to break you, only served to redirect you closer to your purpose. They played their roles without understanding the outcome they were fueling: your inevitable rise. Your resilience, your ability to adapt, and your faith in your path made it impossible for them to stop you. They created hurdles, but you turned them into stepping stones. They tried to block your light, but you used their shadows to redefine your glow. You've proven that, no matter how much resistance they apply, destiny is a force beyond their control. Now as they watch your rise, they see their efforts for what they truly were: futile. You've become living proof that divine purpose cannot be derailed. What was meant to harm you has only elevated you. Your journey is a testament to the unstoppable power of someone aligned with their calling. They may have played their part, but this story was never about them. It's always been about your unshakable rise to greatness, guided by a destiny they could never rewrite. Your journey has been anything but easy. Yet every challenge, every roadblock, and every setback has served a higher purpose. What they intended as obstacles to stop you have instead become the very tools you've used to rise. Every time they plotted against you, they unknowingly contributed to your success. Their attempts to derail you only reinforced one undeniable truth: destiny cannot be manipulated, paused, or destroyed. They thought they were in control, that their power, influence, or sabotage could dictate your path. But what they've come to realize is that they were never in charge. They were merely players in a story far bigger than themselves, a narrative orchestrated by something greater. Every misstep they caused, every plan to break you, only served to redirect you closer to your purpose. They played their roles without understanding the outcome they were fueling: your inevitable rise, your resilience, your ability to adapt, and your faith in your path made it impossible for them to stop you. They created hurdles, but you turned them into stepping stones. They tried to block your light, but you used their shadows to redefine your glow. You've proven that no matter how much resistance they apply, destiny is a force beyond their control. Now as they watch your rise, they see their efforts for what they truly were: futile. You've become living proof that divine purpose cannot be derailed. What was meant to harm you has only elevated you. Your journey is a testament to the unstoppable power of someone aligned with their calling. They may have played their part, but this story was never about them. It's always been about your unshakable rise to greatness, guided by a destiny they could never rewrite. Number 1. A silent revolution wrapped in flesh. There's a power in silence that roars louder than any scream, and you embody that truth. You are a quiet storm, a force of nature that moves without warning, reshaping the landscape without the need for theatrics. They expected rebellion to look loud, chaotic, and destructive, but your revolution doesn't wear its intentions on its sleeve. Instead, it's deliberate, strategic, and unstoppable. You've become the change they never anticipated, and that terrifies them. Your existence challenges everything they thought was secure. You don't need to announce your moves, you simply make them. Your actions speak volumes, dismantling their carefully crafted illusions of superiority without you ever lifting a finger against them. They see your presence as a threat because it forces them to confront their own vulnerabilities. Every step you take forward reveals cracks in their foundations, not because you've attacked them, but because your growth highlights their stagnation. You've shown them that true change doesn't require permission. It doesn't beg for validation or ask for a stage. It happens in the quiet moments, in the choices made when no one is watching, and in the resilience to keep going when the odds are stacked against you. Your revolution is wrapped in the flesh of someone they underestimated, a person they thought they could control, manipulate, or ignore. Now they see the truth. You are the embodiment of everything they fear, not because of what you say, but because of what you are. Your silence isn't passive, it's purposeful. Every step you take is calculated, every move precise. You don't have to prove your strength. It's evident in how you keep rising, how you keep growing, and how you've quietly become the catalyst for their undoing. You are the revolution they never saw coming, and now they can't stop it. In conclusion, you are a force that can't be contained, a blueprint that can't be replicated, and a storm they can't predict. Your enemies saw you as a threat, underestimated your power, and tried to break you. But in doing so, they've only revealed their own weaknesses. They had a vision of who they thought you were, but now they see the truth. You're not what they imagined. You're not bound by their rules or controlled by their limitations. You are the living proof that greatness doesn't follow a prescribed path. It creates its own. Your resilience, your grace, your unpredictable rise, and your relentless pursuit of purpose have made it clear that you were never meant to fit into their narrative. You are the untold chapter in their story, the force that answers to something far bigger than their petty attempts to keep you down. You've shown them, time and time again, that they could never hold you back, because you were always destined for something beyond their reach. They thought they could keep you in the shadows, but now they know the truth. You are the light they could never dim. You are the manifestation of what they lacked, the catalyst for their own undoing, and the proof that nothing can stop you. So stand tall, chosen one. Your path is clear, your future unstoppable, and no matter how hard they try, they will never, ever be able to erase what you've become. This is your time. You are exactly who you were always meant to be, unstoppable, unbreakable, and destined for greatness. God bless.